Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Monster Party.
Monster Party.
Monster Party.
Monster Party. Uh-oh, someone call a doctor.
I'm fine.
Speaking of doctors.
Ooh. Yes, Sean. By the way, that voice that you heard was SHAWN SHERIDAN. I am Matt Weinhold.
I am Larry Stroth.
And I'm James GONIS.
And say something else, Sean.
I am SHAWN Sheridan.
Wow. A master of improv. Okay.
It's a very special show.
It is a very special show.
show.
And Sean did a little sort of a tip to it. The subject for our podcast is Mad Doctors.
Mad doctors.
Mad doctors. Mad doctors.
Insane doctors.
Insane doctors.
Angry doctors.
Angry.
Mad
Kind of all.
scientists.
Scientists. Now, but
Okay.
So is that really how we're going to do it? Is it going to be just mad? Do they have to have a doctorate?
Well, I would say it's the whole gamut, because it could be someone who is working on scientific stuff that may not have graduated from a doctor's school.
Yeah, if you're an insane scientist, maybe you... or if you went to insane scientist school.
Welcome to Phil's Doctoring School.
Now we have a very special guest with us today.
We do have a very special guest. He is a long-time friend of mine, a past roommate. He is an actor, a director, a writer, a journalist, an artist.
A jack of all trades.
He is a jack of all trades and just a lovely guy. Let me introduce to you MARC HERSHON.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you for being with us, Mark.
Lovely to have you. And Mark is also a fellow podcaster.
Yes, he is.
With his own podcast called SUCCOTASH.
That's right, the Comedy Podcast.
What?
Awesome.
Yes, where we feature clips of other people's comedy podcasts.
What the
Cool.
fuck? Is that allowed?
And we featured Monster Party a number of times.
Thank you. Very good taste.
It's awesome.
In fact, Matt was a guest on one of our episodes before you guys actually rolled out your first episode.
How about that?
Wow.
Cool.
Yeah, dipping my toe in.
Yes, you are.
He teased the fact it was coming, so everybody was
Yeah.
very
Cool.
excited.
Yeah, I was doing, they call that the rollout.
Oh, I see.
It's, in the biz.
soft opening.
Soft. Ooh.
So, Mad Doctors.
That was my college film.
Mad Doctors.
Mad doctors. They don't have to have a doctorate. They can just be, do they have to be,
They could be dabblers.
okay.
Sure.
So just angry and doctors. So Dr. Dre, that's fine, right? We can do Dr. Dre.
I don't know if that really qualifies.
Dr.
What? How dare you say that?
But let's get to like
No, let's
some
talk about Dr. Dre.
No. I want to get to some classic Mad Doctors. Okay,
so you started off.
Well,
Get
for
it going.
example, well, one of my favorites, and it has to do with when I saw this movie as a kid. I felt very passionate about it because I thought this guy was a terrific actor, and it was the classic Frankenstein from 1931 when Colin Clive plays Dr. Frankenstein.
Great place to start.
Classic.
And the funny thing is, as a kid watching this, to see his acting, and he's so frenetic, and when he gets so serious,
Yeah, and tortured. You really get the tortured quality about him.
I thought this guy is a great actor. And if I'm trying to remember correctly, how many times is it when he gets the Frankenstein monster, when he first moves his hand and he goes, "It's alive." No, not it's first. It's alive. It's alive. It's alive. It's alive. It's alive. It's alive. Oh, it's alive. He does it 7 times, I think. Wow. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh. So anytime if you want to do a great, passionate scene, you have to say it 7 times. It's like my drink, or something like that. But,
Yeah, if you're a binge drinker, that's a great drinking game.
Well, I just
7
said
drinks.
I have a
you're
drink
done.
in front of me.
Now, wait, does that rule go counter to the comedy rule of 3s?
Oh, I don't
just
know.
curious.
Look, that's, as a kid when I saw it, so to me, he is like the ultimate mad doctor. So here's a guy, he's tortured. He has lost somebody. He wants to see, why can't I bring life back? If we can bring people back, wouldn't that be a great thing?
Right. He tampers in God's domain. He's like a god bringing a human to life.
Yeah, and I was thinking about this when we had picked our topic. There have been a lot of different interpretations of Dr. Frankenstein. You have the Colin Clive, who actually goes through he kind of evolves from Frankenstein to Bride of Frankenstein, actually, even though he goes through with stuff. You can see he's hesitant, he's reluctant.
Well, he learned his lesson.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, Dr. Pretorius is more the baddie in Bride.
Another great.
He kind of orchestrates the whole thing.
Dr. Frankenstein is like your classic absentee father. Just a dick.
Totally.
Yeah, he just like, he gives birth to this kid and just like, I don't want any of you. He's loose in the woods. Yeah, he'll find his way. It's fine. There's berries he can eat. He'll be good.
You know, you bring up a really good point because it's like once the Frankenstein monster is created and he's kind of chained up, you know, and Fritz is kind of torturing him a little bit, and Colin Clive does that. He has that line. He goes, "Oh, leave it alone, leave it alone." He runs out of the room, and it's like, you're right, Matt. It's like, oh, I created this creature, and I don't want
unwieldy child, kind of, you know.
Yeah, the guy is already monstrous and horrible. Maybe if you were nice to him, maybe if we put somebody else besides Fritz in charge of them.
Yeah, really.
How about, you know, an au pair, possibly?
Or perhaps a telegraph to the Child Protective Services.
Thank you. Yeah.
Well, Dr. Frankenstein and Dr. Pretorius in Bride of Frankenstein.
Yeah.
would
Dr.
be-
Pretorius, man, that guy is,
I mean,
he is lovely. He
creates little people.
he makes little people.
Out of seeds.
And I don't, that part I still don't really understand of
Yeah,
Bride
it's
of
very
Frankenstein.
bizarre.
The idea, like, so he made these people and they're dolls, but they think they're a king.
It's
and
more
they
like alchemy, really.
Well, yeah.
If you-
Petri dish.
If you think about it, not only does he make them, but he has to make little clothes.
Clothes to go for
He has
them,
to make little king clothes.
Yeah, it's like
And-
a flea circus or something.
Yeah,
Yes.
totally.
Yeah.
Yes.
But you can picture Pretorius doing that, you know, stitching up little clothes. Oh, this would look lovely on Henry VIII.
Hey,
totally.
James, what are you trying to say?
Nothing that hasn't already been said.
Now, does the lineage hold true? Do we look at Victor Frankenstein as well as a mad doctor?
Oh, sure.
Absolutely.
From
Young
Young
Frankenstein.
Frankenstein. Wow, very good. Would you guys say that he's a mad doctor?
Of course, it's a comedy, but he's still a mad doctor. He's still
He goes insane.
yeah, he does go insane.
He's pretty intense to begin with in that movie. Even
Yeah.
he's resisting following the family curse.
Gene Wilder.
Right, right.
Yes, and
And he's still kind of hysterical.
Don't let me out no matter what I say.
Punch your fucking head in! Yeah. Oh,
we
man,
have to stay
so
normal.
Good.
You know,
So good.
Yeah,
so
fantastic.
good. Yeah, he goes into it pretty nuts. He's tightly wound from the very beginning.
Totally.
So there wasn't a too far to go to get mad.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Gene Wilder, really great mad doctor.
Yeah.
But there were some other mad doctors or other actors who played Dr. Frankenstein.
Absolutely.
Like, what do you guys think of Peter Cushing?
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah.
Peter Cushing is probably my favorite Dr. Frankenstein.
Oh, really?
Yes. Peter Cushing, I'm sort of like, I have this man crush with Peter Cushing. He is he's just one of these actors that is just great in everything. Even
so cool.
Yeah, so
He
cool.
really is, yeah.
So debonair, and when you give him a little bit of evil, a little bit of meanness, it really comes alive. And there's one, he started his tenure as Dr. Frankenstein with Curse of Frankenstein.
Yeah, Curse of Frankenstein.
Which I believe was really the first of the classic Hammer horrors.
Was that 50?
I think so, yeah, because in Horror of Dracula followed after that.
Yeah.
Right.
Was that 58, John?
56 maybe. And yeah, you're right. I think Curse of Frankenstein just opened people's eyes. This was like a whole new, they had been used to the kind of classic black and white Universal, but this was like color, this was gory, this was
Vibrant
more
Yeah,
colors.
vibrant
you know,
colors, scary,
busty women. and-
busty women,
I mean,
all the
yeah.
things that got me through my adolescence.
Well, and in
Yeah.
contrast to Colin Clive, who was really sort of neurotic and high-strung, Peter Cushing was clinical, controlled,
calculated.
Very,
Yeah.
very.
very British.
Yes,
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 very.
very British,
Yes.
and also very much convinced that even when shown blatantly wrong, when the Frankenstein monster just roams through the countryside, just out of control, you could always tell it was like, yeah, it's fine. It's like he's always right.
Yeah, right,
Like
yeah,
he's
totally.
never in this place
Which
where
is
he feels,
scary in a
Yeah,
guy,
like
you know?
you're like, oh man, I might have made a mistake. No, I'll get it right next time.
But some would argue that's the true essence of evil is they don't think they're doing evil.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Totally,
exactly.
totally.
Just
Yeah.
right, regardless of the consequences.
Yes.
Right.
Absolutely.
Although there is one Frankenstein movie with Peter Cushing as Dr. Frankenstein where I believe he really is evil. There's the kind of evil where you think that ultimately this research will help mankind.
Yeah.
Right.
Push
I
it
mean, there is a
forward.
reason why he's doing
Yeah,
it.
of
He's
course,
trying to
yes,
help.
Yes.
His
exactly.
ego is also involved
Yeah,
too.
yeah, yes,
But in Frankenstein Must Be Destroyed,
Oh, yeah.
he has this couple that he's he's blackmailed them. This one doctor or intern or whatever did something unethical, and he knows about it.
So he's holding it over his
Yes,
head.
and he's
Yeah.
threatening to out them if they don't help him. to the point where since he has this control, he rapes the guy's wife in the movie. And
Veronica Carlson, I
Veronica
think, right?
Carlson, yeah. And it is the most evil you've ever seen.
But
Dr.
it's okay.
Frankenstein.
It's okay because he's a doctor.
He's a doctor. oh, we are
just
in so
examining
much
her.
trouble. Yeah. Oh boy.
I think I remember
Lost
reading
all
too
our
that-
female listeners.
Let's not.
No. I think Cushing even commented on how he kind of had a little bit of trouble doing that scene with Carlson. They just kind of like did it, but it was kind of like he was a little reluctant, because you're right.
And it's so terrifying because you don't really expect it. You've never seen a Dr. Frankenstein like that. You've never seen
right.
someone who would be just so brash and evil and take it to that place.
What
Right.
I liked about Cushing's evil was he wasn't a scenery chewer. It wasn't like a Jeremy Irons evil.
Yeah, or even like a Vincent
Yes.
Price. You're right.
Yes,
you're
it
right.
was laid back and restrained.
Yeah.
It truly was like he was confident that he was in control of the
That's
situation.
right.
He didn't have to push too hard.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what's really cool about Cushing, he really had it made in those Hammer films during that era because he would go back and forth between playing the ultimate bad guy and the ultimate hero because he would be Van Helsing in the horror.
Yeah.
So it was he was the good guy in that, battling usually Christopher Lee. So it was like really cool. He got to be the stalwart, vampire hunter and then play the evil Frankenstein making the monsters and for like a decade at least.
And in
So
both
that's-
roles, he was the epitome of cool.
Yeah.
And a doctor.
Yeah, there you go.
And I would say he's mad in a different way. Like he is really angry. He's angry at vampires.
Right,
He
right.
really does not care for them at all.
Now, do you guys ever see Frankenstein: The True Story? Where
Yeah,
I love
Dr.
that.
Frankenstein is
I
actually
love
played
that.
by Leonard Whiting, and Leonard Whiting was probably best known for being Romeo in Romeo and Juliet. The
Right,
Zeffirelli.
right.
And this really good-looking guy, and in that film, it was the one Frankenstein film where I really felt bad for Dr. Frankenstein. I pitied him because if you remember in the movie, the creature when it is first created is actually. It's a good-looking guy.
Yeah, it's a
Michael Sarrazin,
Sarrazin,
right?
yeah.
And he couldn't. And Whiting is just so thrilled. He's so proud of his creation, and slowly but surely he sees
like degenerating.
the degeneration,
right.
yeah.
Which is a cool approach to that too. Like making him kind of right out the gate. He's kind of like this Adonis, and then he slowly
It was a lot more
deteriorates.
faithful to the original novel, right?
I think so. Yeah.
He was supposed to be a beautiful creation.
Right.
Now it's been age. I read the book. Maybe I think I was in junior high school when I read the actual book. But I thought that from the very beginning he was kind of hard on the eyes. Like
Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, Matt.
Oh, yeah.
Well, the votes from the beholders are in, and Frankenstein not so good.
What was really tragic was like at the end he has this great little monologue where he's actually asking the creature for forgiveness, and it's the one Dr. Frankenstein that actually I think does that, where he actually begs forgiveness from the monster,
Which I think is in the book.
yeah. Unlike, let's say, the Kenneth Branagh version. Yes. Now,
I can't even.
now,
I can't even go there.
well, did you see that?
Yes. Yeah. The movie's a mess.
it's just dull.
It really.
I actually walked out on that.
It's an over the top.
Serious?
It's a
That's
bad
serious.
over the top movie. It's a misfire.
Was Kenneth Branagh just in love with himself or something?
Maybe.
I mean,
Yeah.
How could that be possible?
But it does hold true with the book in one regard, in that if you read the book, the monster does look like Robert De Niro. It's described literally in the book. His De Niro-esque features.
I like
There
that
you
scene
go.
in Frankenstein where he's talking about the bride and he goes, "Did you fuck my wife?"
I actually don't remember that part.
Yeah.
Well, I
Did you
wanted to-
fornicate with my wife? Yeah.
no.
Oh, how about I wanted to bring up another kind of classic, much more kind of ruthless and cold Mad Doctor would be Doctor Moreau from the Island of Doctor. Talk about a true evil surgeon.
Yes.
Right. I mean, this guy was like blatantly experimenting on humans, turning them into these creatures. I mean, these animals.
And it's a strange. That's another one that's really. It's a hard one to judge because depending on who's playing him, and if you're
Yeah.
going back to the book,
Yeah.
the Charles Lawton, Dr. Moreau,
Yeah.
is amazing
Mm-hmm.
and
He's
creepy,
amazing. Super
and,
creepy.
and very, very intimidating. But there's also this element of that character that you feel like he does also have this bigger goal. Like he feels what he's doing. Yeah, he's sort of taking the role of God, but he feels it's for the best. If he can raise these animals into something as noble as human beings, then he's doing good work. But you could tell, at least in the movies, there's that little sadistic element that I think he sort of enjoys when they start reverting. Like,
Yeah, totally.
Now this was a movie
get
that
that
was made,
cut into a
this was
cougar
made
man.
Three different times though, right, Sean? You have
believe-
Charles Laughton.
Yeah, then in the 70s you had Burt Lancaster, in the Island of Dr. Moreau.
John Chambers makeup.
Yeah, good makeup. With
Michael York,
Barbara
Michael
Carrera.
York.
Barbara Carrera.
Yeah.
Oh, let's all just take a moment.
And then you have a third one.
Like in the 90s.
Val Kilmer,
Val Kilmer, and Marlon Brando,
Brando,
which is a
What
crazy...
is that your favorite one? Is that your favorite?
Oh God.
I have to say, it is one of my favorite comedies now, though.
Yeah, it is kind of entertaining.
It's not a comedy,
It
Matt.
is so.
It was not made as a comedy.
No, I know, but it's so
It's
sweet. It's like a
great.
train wreck. You can't take your eyes off of it.
It's a little bit of showgirls-y.
Yeah,
There
it
are so
is.
many things that are wrong that somehow by the end it becomes right.
So you're saying that
I
that
do really enjoy that.
there will
movie.
be some midnight showings of
There
Island
should
of
be.
Dr. Moreau where people are like throwing toast.
You know what? I bet that will happen. I bet that will happen someday.
I don't know. It's not a great film. I don't think it's gonna.
Well, I'm not saying
No,
I'm not
it's
saying it's the greatest adaptation of The Island of Dr. Moreau, but if you want to just behold some bizarre spectacle of filmmaking gone wrong and then be delighted by it, that's the one.
All right.
Yeah,
Well,
totally.
well, speak-
I want to know something about
Okay.
you, Larry. I want to know: are there ever movies where you just go, "God, that was so horrible that it just works"? Like somehow it tickles you in a different way.
we actually talked about this once before on another show. When I look at a movie, I try to say to myself, "There's something good about." I mean, I think I can take something away from this movie.
Right.
I always go in
You
with
always
that
go looking for
attitude.
that, but
I do, and then
Even if it's in like an accidental way, though,
But that's
what
what's
is
weird.
good about it for you is
the fact
accidental.
that you will
There-
the fact that you will defend something that is clearly shit, and then something
really?
that has like redeeming comedic value that you'll write off.
You see, actually, I completely disagree with that. I don't think I defend stuff that is complete shit because the stuff that I really like and am enthusiastic about, I think does have a lot of merit and is really, really good. I think what you have to understand.
What did you think of Interiors?
What you need to understand. Okay, let's not talk about James's favorite film of all time. Okay. What I want to say is, we had mentioned this about Beauty's in the Eye of the Beholder, right?
Yes.
When you see a horror film or a science fiction film, it touches each of us in a different way. It may, there may be something in there that clicks with you, and sometimes some of these movies that you hate. And I like them because there's certain scenes that I can understand or that I click with. That's why.
Marlon Brando wearing the ice bucket as a hat.
Yeah.
Haven't you ever? Didn't you watch that scene and go, "Why didn't I think of it?"
Matt, I didn't look at that as being. Oh,
need to go back.
This is comedy. Because I'm not a comic,
Well,
Matt. I'm not a comic.
But you're a good laugher, though. No, seriously, you have a very good sense of humor.
I like a good laugh.
no, but like, in other
to
words-
me, no, because the whole thing
you
is
don't like-
twisted. No.
It's out of context for you.
Back me up here. The whole thing in the concept here is totally twisted.
Yes.
Scientists trying to make people into these creatures.
Right.
Isn't this a twisted thing?
Yeah.
So for the whole film, I mean, it's a twisted thing. I didn't find any of it funny or humorous.
But what? Let's say that doctor. Let's say that Marlon Brando's Dr. Moreau. He is really crazy. You know the crazy guy who sings little songs and does all of a sudden he's like Caligula. He
Yes.
he does a little tap dance. He marries a horse or whatever.
Yeah.
and he's crazy.
Okay,
but he's also brilliant.
Okay, you know what you've kind of touched on something that is another Mad Doctor. How about Dr. Frankenfurter from the Rocky Horror Picture Show, my friend?
Okay.
How about that?
No, but that's interesting though, because that movie, that's an example of a movie that became kind of, really hip with
Yes.
people because it was, quote, a bad movie,
Okay.
and people would talk back to it. But at the time of its release, it was not a hit. It was a bomb, and it became really the first really kind of midnight cult movie.
Yes, that's
but
true.
Like, I don't know if you watch that movie, I think it's a kind of fun, clever little movie that's a takeoff of horror films and sci-fi movies, but it's not no masterpiece. But it took on a completely different life when it became this kind of midnight sensation.
Yeah, Sean, I saw this twice. Okay, the first time I saw it, it wasn't when the movies first came out. Like you, it's like I had heard and I saw the preview when it came out. I didn't see it, and the film did not do well. The first time I saw it was years later when a friend of mine said, "Oh, you've got to see this."
But did you see?
I saw it twice. The first time I saw it was with a crowd, and the crowd was throwing toast and squirting bottles, and it was like a fun time. I went a second time. and there were 3 people in the crowd. And you know what? Film wasn't as good.
Well, but you just prove your own point though, which was then you can enjoy a movie for its badness and not because it's actually a well-made movie.
In the right context.
In the right context, which I think Matt's saying about Dr. Moreau. In other words, that movie with the audience at midnight is really fun, but you're saying that, in your opinion, that movie actually is not a good movie, and it doesn't have really much merit. But with a cult audience at midnight, it's enjoyable. I think Matt's saying the same thing about appreciating Brando's crazy interpretation of Dr. Moreau is funny. I think that's fine. I think it's kind of the same idea.
You know what? When I didn't see the film, Sean, with a group of comedians like all laughing at it. It was like at home late at night.
In your cellar.
Yes, in my cellar, alone, petting my cat. So yes, Sean.
No, but I think
combing the blonde wig on the corpse.
There's also something to be said for that role coming at the end of Brando's career, which was so colorful to begin with.
Yeah, totally.
That he sort of needed like a cherry on the top of this kind, where he
was kind of made to play that role.
Yeah, exactly. Or at least to find himself in a movie like that.
It's a movie that's, I'm telling you, go back and check this movie out. It goes all over.
I expect a comedy now.
It goes all over the place, and then it gets so out of control that all of a sudden it starts to work again. And you go, oh. And I'm telling you that I don't think that it was intentional.
I agree.
And the fact that Val Kilmer's in it too, and he's also an actor who's kind of
weird,
kind of self-destructed a little bit,
and then doing like a weird. At one point, he does a weird impression of Brando. So like all these crazy things.
Actually, as a great triple feature is all 3 of those movies because
I was thinking the same.
They're such signs of their times. I mean, like you have like the pre-code kind of 30s grim 30s movie, then you have the kind of 70s, kind of Planet of the Apes style makeup on those guys, and then you have this one. It's like, it's actually
I just
great
want to know if any
feature.
of the 3 Dr. Moreaus took the Hippocratic Oath. That's what I do no harm. Apparently not.
They took the Hippocratic Oath.
Make somebody into a hippo.
You make someone into a hippo.
All right. So,
but wait a minute. Hold on. We got to touch on Rocky Horror here.
Okay.
Now, did you like Rocky Horror?
In the same way Larry said he did, was in a group setting where people are really having a great time. It's kind of like going to the opening night of almost any big movie where it's like the audience is into it.
Right.
They're digging it. But taken alone, I mean, I watched that movie on video, and I haven't been able to make my way through
so I appreciate the love for classic monster movies, like Richard O'Brien, who wrote that. I mean, I see that in it.
It's clearly a send up,
and
also kind of a love letter too.
Yeah, I mean, yes, it's a weird, bizarre movie. It's not for everybody's taste, but I mean, I kind of appreciate it for that. But I think it is definitely more enjoyable to watch.
I think it's very funny, not all the way through, but in a lot of places, especially. I think Tim Curry is so great in that role, and he just brings such a life to that character. And when he comes down in the elevator doing Sweet Transvestite is a hilarious song. And I think the songs
are very clever,
and
actually.
the numbers in that movie are great. And it's a good, forget about the horror element or the comedy element. It's kind of a neat rock musical.
But I would argue that role hurt his career. Really? Well, I think so. I mean,
but that's not the movie's fault.
Wait, don't you think? Because don't you think that's what made him? Wasn't that his first big role?
It was, but then his next big role, I think, was big because he was like 60 pounds heavier the next time we saw him because it was so. When did he work after that?
Oh, it's funny you should say that. I remember when he was in.
So you're blaming you're blaming craft services on Rocky Horror.
Yes,
the Hunt for Red October. Oh, he was on the movie Clue. He played the butler. But I do remember when he was in the Hunt for Red October, and that was the first time since Rocky Horror went.
Yes.
So Larry, that's not a Mad Doctor movie. Why are we talking about the Hunt for Red October?
You're absolutely right. I'm just bringing up a point.
But there was a doctor, and it was played by Sam.
No.
Oh, you're right. No, you're right.
No.
Now talk about Red October.
Hunt for Red October. He was the doctor. He was the doctor on that ship. It wasn't a mad doctor.
There you go.
As a matter of fact, he was the one who was actually sane on the ship. Which is another story.
Rocky Horror might have made Tim Curry's career also, because who knows if he ever would have worked again.
Well, and that's the thing too, is that the thing that puts you on the map. There's a tendency for a lot of actors to then kind of shit on that initial thing that they're popular for. I know, William Shatner did it for a very long time and then finally embraced it, and then things seem to kind of start working out for him.
That's right, yeah.
And I've heard that Mark Hamill isn't too crazy about, being called Luke Skywalker. You're Luke Skywalker. You should be thanking the Lord that you are Luke Skywalker.
The whole I am not Spock Right.
Right.
Which later also Nimoy embraced them.
And he was a
like,
mad
okay,
doctor,
I am
at
Spock.
least
to
during
the point where he was
time.
directing Star Trek movies.
And writing a book called I Am Spock.
Yeah, totally.
Another doctor, by the way, Spock. That's
Well, yeah, Dr. Spock.
Dr. Spock with the babies. Oh my God! What was he after with those babies?
Have you read that book? A mad doctor.
He
I
is
tell you.
insane.
You know, you bring up a really good point about Dr. Spock. I do remember asking my mom some questions, and she goes, well, that's what Dr. Spock told us to do. And I go, Mom, isn't Dr. Spock, isn't he on that TV show? She goes, no, that's a different Spock. So for some of you listeners, Dr. Spock was actually he was really
Famous baby
he was a
doctor.
pediatrician.
Yeah.
And he wrote this book, I think, way back in
Yeah,
the
it was
what
like the
four-
owner's manual
was
for
it
parents.
the 40s
Yeah,
or the
totally.
50s?
Yeah, the book was called "I Am Not That Spock."
I know this is very interesting, but it was all about raising kids, and some things might have been a little.
Yeah, it was a little controversial.
Yeah.
I'm gonna throw out some more Mad Doctor
Please.
movies. One of my favorite Mad Doctors is from a '60s film called The Brain That Wouldn't Die.
I wrote that down, Sean.
This is a great one because this movie is a great kind of like sleazy little perverse movie
It is,
where
it really is.
Jason Evers, this character actor who plays this very egotistical surgeon who always wants to push the limits of science, and he's into transplants, and he's about to get married, and him and his fiancée are driving a car, and he's racing too fast because he's going to get somewhere, and he crashes the car. And in the process, his fiance's head is she's decapitated.
Yes.
But so he takes her head, being the resourceful doctor that he is.
He had an igloo.
He takes her head and keeps it alive in a pan in his basement.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Her name's Jan. It's Jan in a pan. And but the great thing about what this guy does is that he's got his head, he's got her head, it's alive. I got to find you a body. So he goes out trying to find the hottest chick with the hottest body.
Imagine,
And
imagine that.
They're all waitresses at bars.
Yeah. Well, he literally like cruises the town, and everyone walking in the sidewalks are all these like slutty like women. It's crazy. Like, where is this town?
It's Los Angeles.
And he picks up these women, and and this is the best way. He finally picks this one like photography model who like is a smoking hot body, and she has a disfigured face. So it's like she was burned. So like she does.
So he has it coming.
Yeah, right. So he is gonna intends to kind of cut off her head and use her body and put it on his fiance's head. But what's great is that during all this, while he's searching for the hot body, his fiancée is able to kind of like telepathically communicate with this kind of monstrosity that's in the closet in his lab. That it's a failed experiment. It's like a failed experiment, and you never see it. Like, and she's like, "I know you're in there. I have to get back at him." And so finally, like at the end, like she's controlling the monster.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. To kind of
And they all get
go
married.
after the scientists. So it's just great though. It's like there's this level of sleaziness to it that's really great.
What was the experiment? Like, I realized that was a failed experiment. What was he going for?
Yeah,
Does anyone know? Does
I'm
everyone
going to make a
remember?
misshapen, lumpy monster.
Mark, you know the film, right?
Yeah.
What do you think he was trying to do with that thing?
I think it was sort of I'm going to say Dr. Moreau-ish kind of thing where he was trying to
transplants or something.
he was like doing some sort of transplants where he'd put a different arm on the guy because the guy wasn't the thing in the closet was like really strong.
Yeah.
had like
It was like a pinhead. Yeah, it was really.
What the hell was that?
What if it originally the whole thing started with him just trying to get his nephew through the SATs, and it just went like one thing happened after another, and just went horribly wrong.
It was actually the first attempt to create a Roomba.
That's messed
Now,
up.
there were elements of that in the Steve Martin movie, Man with Two Brains.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
One of the best things I think Steve Martin ever did.
Yeah. Well, there's also another similar movie called The Frozen Dead.
I thought you were going.
wait, I don't know. I don't know the Frozen.
Another head in a pan, and another which is
We got to do a whole head in a pan.
Yeah, totally.
Sean, what year? Wait. What year
No,
is
it's
that?
Dana Andrews, also 60s. Dana Andrews is like a Nazi scientist who is trying to thaw out the Third Reich. He's like he's trying to do this, but in the meantime, this girl is killed who's like his niece's friend, and so he keeps her head in a pan and
Just for company.
It's crazy.
And that's the best part of these movies. How is this pan keeping these heads alive? There's no chemicals. There's nothing. It's just
there's that special chemical.
You know, I bought it. I totally did.
You bought one of those pans?
No,
They're really good
when I
pans.
saw it for the
They are
first time,
seriously
I
good
got,
pans.
well, it seems totally logical. I guess there's a little tube that's giving her air. So,
Yeah.
I mean, as a kid,
I just would have hated to be the actress. Now you're going to kneel under this table for the next 6 weeks.
Yeah, totally.
I want to.
6 weeks, more like 3 days.
Is there a Mad Scientist QVC where they sell headpans and?
Hey, can I tee one up? A Mad
Of
Doctor?
course.
Because the script was actually written by a friend of my family's. The Abominable Dr. Five.
Oh my gosh, we love Dr. Five.
Yeah.
And the sequel too.
Yes, he wrote.
Dr. Fibes rises again.
Yes, Bill Goldstein was a friend of my family.
Really?
No.
Yes, absolutely. Lived in San Francisco and wrote that movie out of whole cloth, apparently.
Wow.
And he became a documentarian after those 2 movies were made, and he still lives here. He lives in L.A. and his son lives in L.A. and they have written together a prequel book to the first
Really?
Dr. Five.
No.
Is it published?
It's self-published. They have a Facebook page, and
That's
they're-
cool.
I'm reading that.
You know, the origin of Dr. Fibes, because
Yes.
let's explain Dr. Fibes'
Yes.
condition,
Yeah.
because
Yeah, what-
Vincent
yeah,
Price
yeah.
plays him.
Give us how Dr. Fibes and what his whole problem was.
Well, again, tragically, his beautiful wife killed in an auto accident.
Played by Carolyn
Carolyn Monroe.
The luscious,
Yes.
lovely
Beautiful.
Carolyn Monroe.
Gorgeous.
And she dies on the operating table. He's not the doctor. She's taken to a hospital, and so he vows revenge on the entire medical team that attempted to take care of her, to heal her.
Right.
And he trots out the 12 curses of Israel
That's right.
to kill each of the people in the medical team. So one person, I think it was Peter Ustinov, I'm going to say. I can't remember exactly who it was, but somebody's mouth is stuffed full of locusts.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think
Well,
I don't think Ustinov was a little too big to be in Dr. Fibes.
Oh,
Yeah,
maybe
at that
so.
time.
But
yeah,
the guy you
locusts.
got if you couldn't get.
Yeah,
Right,
but
right.
I have a distinct, because I saw the movie like when I was a kid, and I just remember the guy is sleeping, and I think he's drugged or something. Something's put in his booze, and a plastic tube is put in his mouth, and this greenish fluid is poured down the tube,
Right.
and these locusts are just sort of fed into the tube, and they go after this fluid, and they
Well, I'm trying to remember which victim this is, but there's one where I think it's a woman, and they lower a tube and they put all this like goo. Looks like
It's like
sugary
honey,
goo,
like a honey type stuff.
all over her face.
I think it is a woman, yeah.
Yeah,
I think
and then
so.
she's drugged.
Yeah.
I think they
Oh,
originally
yes.
they put
Yeah.
gas in the room, and then she's asleep. The goo is on her face, and then they just let in locusts.
That's what it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the locusts eat off her
With
face.
all due respect, Mark, I think you might be getting it mixed up with Theater of Blood, where Peter Ustinov is in that one, I think.
okay.
And there's a thing where he...
No, actually, it's Robert Morley. Oh! Yes, because he's fed to death.
Yes.
That's Theater of Blood, where it's Vincent
right.
Price as a
That's
crazed
right.
Shakespearean
Yes.
actor.
or was that someone's killing the great chefs of Europe?
that one, that's true.
There was another death in Fives where a guy is impaled with a unicorn head. and I remember there was this attempt to make these little humorous japes in the thing.
Right,
and
totally.
they're trying to get the head out of the guy's body, and the detective goes, "It's a left-hand screw," and they've been turning it the wrong
And that's
way.
also what's great about those movies is that both of them have a real vein of humor.
Oh, totally.
running
Very
through all of them.
stylized.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of camp, but knowing when to let go.
Yes.
Right. No, they're great.
Yeah, they're
great
unlike,
films.
unlike Island of Doctor Moreau. Yeah.
Apples.
I'm gonna have to. I'm
apples
gonna have to
and
see that. I'm
Moreaus.
gonna have to see that one. But Dr. Fibes, amazing.
Dr. Fibes is amazing, and now you knowing the writer.
Yes.
What I'm curious because there was a little nod. Correct me if I'm wrong. Was there a nod to Anton LaVey?
There may have been, yeah.
Because
I
apparently
don't-
Anton LaVey loved mannequins and
that's a
and
good
so
point.
Dr.
Oh,
Fibes
right.
has the clockwork
Yeah.
orchestra.
I wouldn't
I
be
love that
surprised.
stuff.
I loved it too. God, talk about something I would like to have.
Yeah,
Life-size
in my
clockwork
in my
orchestra.
house, that would be.
Wouldn't that be the greatest?
It would be great.
Or just to hire some guys to sit in those costumes, and you
That's
feed them
actually-
every 6 hours, and
See, that's one of my favorite parts. I love
Goldstein wrote a movie, by the way, that never got produced. It was called Blood of the Man-Ape. And it was set,
Wow,
set,
I like that
set in
title.
San Francisco, and a lot of it took place in the BART system that wasn't finished at the time. They
Yeah.
were chasing this creature, and it was an ape at the zoo, but it turned out it was like a were-ape.
Wow,
And
interesting.
It would become a man.
Whoa!
Yeah, and he couldn't get it set up anywhere.
Did he write anything else that was produced?
I don't think so. Like I said, he became a documentarian after that. So anything else he did was strictly, nonfiction.
But you've written a bunch of stuff yourself too.
I have, yeah. I've written movies for the Hallmark Channel.
Yeah, talk about
Wait,
those.
horror movies for the Hallmark Channel?
well,
we immediately associate with monsters.
Yes.
Oh, of course.
a horror comedy I wrote for them called Monster Makers. It was a Halloween movie.
Oh, tell me about that.
Yeah, do tell.
It's about a kid who he and his mom go to live at this old man's house. The mom is a live-in nurse, and the old man is ailing. And it turns out he was an old film director, and the kid is a monster movie fanatic. And he's poking around the basement, and it's got all these props from all these old monster movies the guy had made, and it's got a locked chest. And so he breaks into it, and there's the 3 reels and a trailer for a film he's never heard of before called Monsters on the Loose. And he can't find out anything about it. It never was released. It was shown once, and that was it. And so he pulls it out, and he watches the trailer, and it's a bunch of scenes. And he shows it to this girl from school. They're like 12 years old on Halloween night. And the thing was processed on an experimental film stock called radium acetate. And the house is struck by lightning, and the 3 monsters get out of the movie.
No.
Yeah, Purple Rose of Cairo style.
Right, totally.
That's great.
And the bumbling sheriff who's supposed to try and catch them.
Cool. That sounds fun.
And so the kid's mom is played by Linda Blair.
Nice.
Really?
Yeah, check out this cast.
Wait.
It's
Linda
amazing.
Blair in
Linda
a
Blair,
Hallmark
that-
movie?
And one
Yeah.
of the best things was the kid who played the main character and the girl who was like his girlfriend they didn't know who Linda Blair was. They were 12 years old. So she took them to her trailer one day and showed them The Exorcist.
Are you serious?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Dude, that is messed up.
Yeah.
That is messed
cool.
up.
I'll tell you what's even more messed up. So the sheriff is played by Adam Baldwin.
Oh,
Okay,
wow. Nice.
Right? And he and Linda Blair don't get along. He's a dyed-in-the-wool Republican.
He likes to eat meat and stuff.
Well,
right?
that's exactly
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, right.
Linda Blair made a gift of her vegetarian cookbook to everybody on the show.
Okay. Oh boy.
Right?
Uh-oh.
And
I don't know who to root for.
she
in
goes
this.
she goes to present one in the makeup trailer to Adam, and he says if God hadn't meant us to eat animals, he wouldn't have made them out of meat.
You know, he has a point.
I have to admit, yeah.
Yeah. Why are they so delicious?
Oh, yeah.
Stop being delicious.
So the movie director is played by George Kennedy,
Nice.
Great.
which is fantastic.
So, and then there even more.
In the black and white section, Tracy Walters played an Undertaker. Great character actor, Tracy Walters. And
Who's the mad scientist?
this is great. The mad scientist, his name was Dr. Varuk, was the character's name, right? Dr. Varuk. And they hired this German dance dude, modern dancer, because he was really tall and bald and sort of weirdly awkward looking.
And it started as a musical. So
he spoke pretty broken English. He couldn't understand the lines I'd written, and he couldn't deliver them at all right. And the director pulls me aside. Can you simplify the lines or something? Because it's so hard for him to get his mouth around what these words mean. I said, no, you don't understand. If we go into the world of this movie, this director was poor. He wanted to make this monster movie. He wanted to make movies with Frankenstein and all the classic monsters, but he couldn't get the rights to it. So he had to invent monsters for this movie. And he couldn't afford actors, so he hired his dentist. And so it's perfectly all right that nobody can understand what this guy is talking
No,
about.
so this was did this play on the Hallmark Channel then?
Yes.
Okay. Can I get a DVD of it or
Matt
is that-
has a DVD. in
I'll
his
find
house.
it.
Yeah.
I got
Cool,
it
yeah.
in
Is this
my
something you can get-
towers of DVDs.
But it's available on Amazon. It plays around the world on
every Halloween? I
channels.
bet at Hallmark time.
yeah,
Hallmark
and I
Channel
still
plays
get
it.
residuals for it.
Wow.
So,
Yes.
yeah, I
But
can't
how
argue
great is
about
that? And the
right?
man who brought horror to Hallmark.
Yes.
You heard of Hammer horror? Hallmark horror.
Now I don't know if you guys
Close
are like the
second.
variations on the monsters, but this was the most fun I had. Was okay. So he can't get the universal monsters, so he's
Right,
gonna
right.
get as close as he can. So instead of Frankenstein, he creates Mannequin.
Mannequin?
Mannequin is a living mannequin.
Oh, that's cool. Mannequins are creepy.
Who's trying to replace his mannequin parts with living human parts.
That's cool.
Whoa.
So when we meet him in the movie, he has a real human arm and a real human leg. Now, we don't know how he got them, but we do learn that he's not been given the facility to acquire any more.
Does he have a pan?
All he does is he just tugs on people's arms and legs, but can't really do anything.
Right,
with
right,
that.
right.
So instead of the Wolf Man, there's Vermin. Vermin is a hobo who is caught at the edge of a nuclear blast in the Nevada desert and is turned into a giant rat man who, whenever he smells garbage, he turns back into a rat man.
That is so cool.
I like the fact
Ratman.
that you wrote the last hobo role.
Yes, and there's a line where the hobo and the sheriff have been arrested by a cop, and she's driving them to jail. And she says, "This is great. I've got a deluded guy who thinks he's a sheriff and a homeless guy in my car. And with a great amount of pride, the guy pulls himself up and says, 'I am a hobo.'" And the third monster, the Hallmark people said, "We don't have the budget for 3 monsters, so you got to do something. Either take one of them." I said, "No, there's got to be 3 monsters because he can't make a Dracula. So what is he going to do?" So I come up with this idea for Revenant, the living ghost.
The living ghost.
Revenant possesses people and takes them over. So there's no monster to create. All it was this, the director came up with this funny, weird lens camera swoop, and it would go into another person. So all it called for was everyone to act the same when Revenant was inside them.
Oh,
That's cool.
that's clever.
Apropos of the Friday the 13th movie.
Jason Goes to Hell.
Jason Goes to Hell.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. Jason's
they stole
force or spirit kind of possesses.
They stole it from you, obviously.
Yeah, that's right. That's
Clearly,
right.
clearly, they stole it from you.
Yeah.
That's cool. That
So
sounds
it's
awesome.
actually, for this episode, you are our mad doctor.
Yes.
You have created these monsters.
I have.
Yeah.
I have.
true.
Now, let me check this one thing I did with them because I had to go to I went to the creature shop when they were doing Almost Human did the creature effects for these things, and they showed me these
Rob Hall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they showed me the drawings they had in mind for Mannequin, and they wanted Mannequin to change expressions. And they had like a surprised look and a big smile. And I said, "No, you don't understand. The creepy thing about a mannequin is its expression doesn't
expressionless.
change."
Right.
And they got it, but it was like the producers kept going, "No, we have to show that he's reacting." I said, "He is reacting." And it's all how the audience reads that
Totally.
bland expression on the face. So what do
Absolutely.
you guys think about that in terms of
Oh yeah, there's nothing more creepy
Okay.
than an immobile mask
Well,
or an immobile face.
Like, yeah, like in Friday the 13th, you know? I mean, the guy wears the hockey mask.
Yes.
You can never see
Or Michael
his
Myers.
expression.
Right.
You know.
Or-
Imagine if the hockey mask suddenly had a smile on it.
Yeah.
Or the eyes
It would be
went
stupid.
big when it was surprised.
Yeah, it'd be stupid. So I actually like this idea of the face being totally
Plus,
the same.
you save them 10 grand.
exactly?
probably.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's how you should have showed it to him. Hey, we're saving
know-
10 grand here.
Yeah, that was easy to do with them.
I think speaking of crazy German doctors, I
Yes.
think that we cannot go without mentioning the Human Centipede.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now the show has started.
No. I just. Okay. Why don't you tell us?
If you're going
what-
to shit on the Human Centipede, first of all, that's just cruel
Okay.
because they've
Human
got enough
Centipede-
problems.
Okay. Let me go, Sean. You
Well,
talk
the
about.
Human Centipede just came out like 2009. I mean, it's become this notorious film. They made a sequel. They're making another one now too. But the Human Centipede is a very basic premise, which is this German scientist who has this lifelong dream of creating a human centipede. He's a guy who kidnaps people and kind of mutilates them and assembles them together to form from ass to mouth
Yes.
a centipede creation. And it's something that I think he came from, like, he was a surgeon who specialized in separating Siamese twins, I think, and he's just this crazy doctor who lives out in the wilderness, and anybody whose car happens to break down, he's going to grab them. And the guy's name is, the actor who plays him is Dieter Laser, I believe.
Who's a genius.
He is so
He really
good.
is.
He's so committed in his part. He's odd and funny, and the movie. It's so
It's
funny.
not for everyone.
The people who have not seen the movie seem to react the strongest to it.
Yeah.
Yes,
because
that's true. That's very
what's
true.
so funny to me is because the movie to me is a comedy. First
Okay.
of all,
It is a really, really dark comedy.
It's a very dark, it's very gruesome. It is not nearly as graphic as people think or
Yes.
say it is.
It's always worse in the mind.
The most disturbing thing in the movie to me.
Wait a minute, you did say connected ass to mouth.
Yes,
Yeah.
I did.
Let's be very clear
How
about
is that not graphic?
Yeah.
Well, there's not an ass to mouth cam.
Exactly.
Well, then what's the
How
point?
it's shown.
But,
well,
okay, see, not to cut you off, Sean. I don't want to cut you off, but it's like I am one of these people
not
who.
to cut you off, Larry, but
But when I
shit.
saw
Not to cut you off, Matt.
when I
can
saw
anticipate
the
what you're about to
preview-
say, and it's wrong.
When I saw the preview, Sean, I actually had no desire to see it, and it actually made me my stomach just kind of.
It's actually
I kind of upchucked a little bit. When
it's a great
when I
modern
saw it.
horror film. And
It really is.
It is
And I didn't
disturbing
see
and
it.
unsettling, but it's. I mean, that's a good horror film should be. You know,
Yes,
it's-
I agree. I
don't know if
completely agree.
I don't know if I trust you guys because I was feeling that I'm just going to be watching it. I'm going to be barfing.
it's
I
true,
don't
like,
see it as a comedy at all.
It is because this guy,
a dark comedy.
the way this guy behaves, it's funny. The situation is so horrendous and gruesome and ridiculous, but he plays it very straight. And like I said, it's the most
It's really amusing. I'm telling you.
the most disturbing scene for me in the movie is when it's actually happening, is when he's describing to his people who have been tied down on the stretcher, and he's describing what he's going to do in this chart.
He basically gives them a PowerPoint presentation.
That is the most
This is what we're
disturbing
gonna
part.
do to you, yeah.
And he does it in very matter of fact way, and I think I think it's really good.
It's great. And it's a movie. No, go ahead, Jim.
No, I got a call. Nowhere to lie on this. I got a call from the producers on one of the sequels, probably the second sequel, to cast a playmate in it.
Ooh.
And I
Are you serious?
I told them I'd get right back to them, and I wrote them a very nice email saying, I know what you're doing is culturally significant and important, and I applaud you for it. But there's no way we can cast a playmate for it. Well, because I had heard of it, I hadn't seen it, but I thought, okay, well,
Did you volunteer yourself? Just curious.
if you need a,
All I can say is my mother is great in it.
Just trying to cut the playmates out. That's all.
No, but there was some woman called. She had an accent, and it was over.
Hello. Do you want to
Human
do we're doing the Human Centipede movie. We want to play me.
It's
That's actually the
pretty
plot.
much,
The plot of the third one is a casting call.
Sean, from the very beginning, the whole thing just sounded it like crossed
Kinda
the line.
horrifying.
It is. It's horrifying.
And
horrifying.
I'm just not as twisted as you guys are.
Oh.
To find it so.
Well, here's another movie that
Go back to reading your Bible. Okay?
here's another movie
That's a little harsh. Okay, that's a little harsh. I did like The Brain That Wouldn't Die. I did like that,
But it's a horror movie. It's supposed to be horrifying.
I've never been able to get by this thing, Sean. It's basically ass to mouth. I mean, that's just not attractive. I mean, that's not makes me want to go see the movie. Okay,
Then you're going to hate the Human Millipede.
well, it's just
that is one.
It's also
again,
a very long movie.
It seems
16 hours.
It never ends.
Yeah.
yeah.
That's one element. That's one concept of the movie. Okay, you don't actually see an ass on a mouth.
No, you
just so
don't.
know. I mean, this
is going to sound ridiculous. This is going to sound ridiculous, but if you see one Human Centipede movie,
Yes.
it's got to be the Human Centipede.
Yeah.
Because it is tastefully,
Okay.
it is the
Okay.
most tastefully
Okay.
done Human Centipede
See, here's
movie
the thing that,
you could
but
possibly
Matt,
ever get.
in my mind, I'm thinking, you know what? These guys are there going to push the envelope. They're going to push the envelope. What's the most repulsive, disgusting, sick thing we could possibly do? How about someone's ass to someone's mouth? You
It's
know,
horrifying. It's a horror movie.
It's also more about this guy's insane quest to do this. It's the idea of you're stuck in the woods and this guy grabs you to make you participate in this insane, ridiculous experiment, and that's part of the whole.
It's about a man.
There's still the ass to mouth thing.
It's about a man fulfilling his dream.
Yeah,
Okay?
it really
Oh,
is. It really
okay.
is.
It's the feel-good horror film of whatever year it came
But
out.
I also want to mention another movie that was made a good 25 years earlier.
Okay.
They got some of the same kind of flack for being too far and going too far and being, involved, combining
Music?
sex with horror.
Right.
And that was Re-Animator.
Yeah.
Re-Animator at the time got a lot of flack for that.
It
and
did.
That was
It did.
another very over-the-top, gory movie with nudity. And it had, of
Yeah.
course, one infamous scene where there's a decapitated head kind of between Barbara Crampton's naked legs. And anyway, but
It's
the movie
famous.
The movie is fantastic. It's a comedy.
Yes.
It's horror.
Yes.
And it's
and
again,
Jeffrey Combs.
Barbara Crampton, David
works.
Gale.
It
I mean,
works
it's a great
beautifully.
movie. It's fantastic. But again, that's the same kind of movie where it got a lot. People were up in arms about. Oh my gosh!
Right.
And look at it now. It's like almost innocent.
So what you're saying is,
And there's a
'cause
musical.
When I saw the preview, though, it did not come off to me as a black comedy at all. Okay.
Yeah. Well, at least one of the trailers was more straight horror. But there's a lot of straight horror in it.
Let's be honest, though. You have kind of a delicate disposition.
Hey! I like Night of the Living Dead. There are some classic zombie stuff that I'd like.
But you have rules.
I
You
do.
have rules
I guess
of
I do.
things that are not allowed.
I guess I have. I guess I have a line.
No ass to mouth.
No
for
ass
you.
to mouth.
Okay.
No.
We've established that.
No. Here's what I am going to
And
say.
you're not coming to my birthday party.
No, I am not. But what I am going to say is that you guys have given me a little bit of information, so perhaps, like our listeners, maybe we will give the Human Centipede.
Well, yeah, and I would like to hear from our listeners too, like what your opinions of it. Have you seen the movie? What do you think? Because again, it's like, yes, it's not for everybody's taste, but to me, it's an entertaining horror film.
Very entertaining. I really enjoyed it. I watched it a couple times and enjoyed it every time.
We should also mention that South Park did a terrific riff on it. It was a great episode that riffed on.
See, and I actually saw some of that. It actually made it
Really
even more
funny.
disturbing, though.
Really funny.
So wait a minute. So you were disturbed by the South Park version?
because I knew what they were making fun of, and it was just, again, the whole ass to mouth thing.
All right. Okay.
Well-
All right. Well, then what do you got then?
Well, one of my favorite Mad Doctors is actually Sean and I. We actually talked about this in a past episode. I think it's
Oh yeah,
from 1973.
That's right.
The guy, his name is Dr. Stoner.
Strother Martin.
Strother Martin. And what's really creepy about this, I actually saw this on Creature Feature as a kid. So here's this guy, he studies snakes, aren't snakes fascinating? Aren't they, just the wonderful world of snakes? And he gets this guy, played by Dirk Benedict.
Dirk
And he
Benedict.
sews
Battlestar
3
Galactica.
snakes together.
No,
I'm sorry.
Ass to mouth.
To help him out with the whole snake research, but slowly but surely, as Dirk Benedict is given some what he thinks is like it's like venom, like to protect him from venom, snakes biting him or something like that. Slowly but surely, something happens to him.
So it's a serum that is.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
He turns into a snake.
And my thought was, how messed up is that? It's like, what is it? You love snakes so much, and you want to like turn people into snakes or something like that.
Classic Mad Doctor.
Yeah.
And let's not
So
forget,
that's one of my favorite Mad Doctors.
Well, has anybody seen Tusk yet?
No,
I've heard about that.
Kevin
no.
Smith's movie where a blog or a podcaster is doing research into this Mad Doctor, I guess, played by Michael Parks. Michael Parks? Who am I thinking of?
Jim Parks, Alan Parks,
No.
Mike Parks?
Reg Park? No. He was...
Tito Pop.
No. He was in both the Kill Bill
Michael
movies.
Parks.
Yeah, Michael Parks. Oh, there you go.
Hey!
Right? The
Yeah.
first time. So he plays the scientist, and Justin Long plays this podcaster, and he falls into this guy's clutches, and he's slowly turning him into a walrus. So I'm saying it must be related.
It's like a
in
remake.
some way.
Snakes, walruses. Yeah.
Very similar.
But yeah, I mean, you can't get more mad than wanting to turn a guy into a king cobra.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty strange.
Yeah, and I had mentioned, we had talked about the brain that wouldn't die. That was really cool.
Now, I've forgotten this doctor's name, but you guys will know it, I'm sure, in a heartbeat, is Forbidden Planet.
Walter Pigeon.
Dr. Morbius.
Dr.
Yes.
Morbius. Yeah,
Morbius.
Walter Pigeon.
That's
yeah.
a mad scientist.
Right.
No. I disagree with that. I don't think he was mad at all. I mean, he actually has a line where he feels like he's discovered the world of the Krell,
Krell.
and the power of the Krell, and he feels that he has a great sense of consciousness.
Well, yeah, but he's obsessive and goes too far and tries to use
How
the
does he go
machine
so-
himself,
How does
which
he
creates
go
the
too
id
far?
monster.
No. He sleeps. He's sleeping. He falls asleep, and when he sleeps, that's when it happens.
He's not
Sean.
exactly a responsible guy, though. I mean, he creates.
He's
this
messing with alien
creature
technology
that kills
that he
half
doesn't
the
understand.
crew of the-
No. What you guys don't understand though is it's because he put that little machine on his head,
Sure.
and
I
that's
got the
kinda what
answer.
helped it.
Don't put the machine on your head.
Yeah. Or tell someone you're going to put the machine on your
Hey,
head.
if anything weird happens after I put this machine on my head,
I
Turn it
don't-
off.
maybe turn it off.
I don't
pull
think
the plug.
I don't think he
Pull the
qualifies.
Krell plug.
Instead, I'm going to take a nap.
I don't think he qualifies as a mad doctor. Actually, I really don't.
disagree.
Even to
He's
the
not
ver-
right.
No. At the very end, when he realizes that the problems that have been happening have been his subconscious mind. He realizes that.
He feels guilty about it
Yes, of course.
afterwards.
What
After it's killed 12 guys.
He didn't do the actual killing, Sean.
It is him, though.
It is him.
his
It's
id.
id.
Yeah.
It is his subconscious come to physical life. It is him doing
that?
it.
He didn't go out with a dagger or
He
a
might as well
Okay.
have, though.
So great. So as soon as you get a brain killing machine, everything's off the hook for Larry Strothe, right? You can just fucking every fucker that fucked with you in
And
high
you're
school.
innocent.
How come we didn't talk about Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde?
Well,
Well, sure.
let's talk about it.
We have
All right.
Fine.
Or Dr. Griffin, the Invisible Man.
Or Dr. Zhivago.
Dr. Zhivago is a classic movie that he is not a mad doctor.
Or Dr. Smith.
Oh, Dr.
There you
He
go.
is a mad
Well,
doctor.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
Now there, I'd say he's. I mean, think about it. From the very beginning, he's trying to destroy the Jupiter 2,
Jupiter 2,
and then
exactly.
he gets stuck into the
Yeah.
Jupiter 2, and then. Actually, he kind of evolves, doesn't he? He always
He goes
from
he becomes less murderous. Yeah.
I think
like the fact that they forgive him for trying to kill the entire family.
Matt,
there was the one
let's
episode. There
leave
was
him with Will.
there was the one unproduced episode of that show where I think Dr. Smith wanted to take the Robinson family and create a human centipede. With Will and
Asteroid to mouth.
Okay, see, now that, for our listeners, that's totally fabricated by
Yeah.
the twisted mind of Shawn
Talk
Sheridan.
about Jupiter number 2.
Well,
Getting back-
there are a lot of mad doctors we haven't even touched upon. I mean, there's
Sounds like a
Oh,
sequel.
but
I
Dr.
smell sequel.
But wait a minute, you brought up Dr.
Yeah, Dr.
Jekyll?
Jekyll.
I did.
Now, is it
Jekyll
Dr.
and Mr.
Many
Jekyll
incarnate.
or Jekyll? Because I've heard
I've
it
heard it
pronounced a bunch
both
of
ways.
different
Yeah,
ways.
it's true.
I always thought it was Dr. Jekyll.
I always thought it was always Dr. Jekyll. But talk about one of my favorite movies, the Frederick March version of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
It's 19
Where,
Okay.
no, what's the year?
It's 19. Frederick March is 31.
Yeah, and he won the Oscar for
He
that.
did, which is
Which is pretty impressive
He's
for
the
a-
first. Actually, he might be the only actor to win for a horror film. Right, for Academy
It might
Award
be,
winning.
for-
I can't think of anyone
not
else
just
who won
nominated,
the,
but winning
well,
for.
Anthony
Anthony
Hopkins.
Hopkins as Hannibal
was-
Lecter.
But did he
Did he win or was he
He
just
did.
nominated?
He did.
No, he won.
did win.
And actually,
Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
Kathy Bates
Kathy
from
Bates
Misery,
from
but
Misery.
but for a long time. I mean,
Right.
And yet another Mad Doctor.
Yeah.
By the way,
Right, totally.
Hannibal Lecter.
And there was the Spencer Tracy version.
Yeah.
There was you can't forget the great Hammer film, Dr. Jekyll and Sister Hyde.
Oh, that's right.
The great Ralph Bates and Martine Beswick. Great one.
She was so hot in that. Think about that. I mean, I know we kind of touched upon that too. Dr. Jekyll and Sister Hyde.
So the dark side is the woman that comes out.
Yes.
which is
So
kinda
what
interesting.
happens? What happens when he takes the potion and he starts to turn into the woman? So what happens to the thingaling?
It's a transformation.
or does it stay
No wonder
there?
you
We've
didn't like
talked.
the
We've
Human
talked about this
Centipede.
before. What we decided,
Yes.
was that what happens is that all of a sudden the transformation happens when he's, someone is inside him, her, and next thing you know, someone's got their dick caught in someone's penis hole. And wow,
Wow, okay.
I'd rather just lift up the skirt and see a
There you
dick,
go.
and
Okay.
that would be
What about Seth
better.
Brundle? Was he a doctor?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes,
from The
absolutely.
Fly.
From The Fly?
Yes, totally.
Would
Totally
you
Mad
guys
Doctor.
See, no, I disagree. Sean, a mad doctor.
Misguided doctor.
How is he
Misguided. Overly ambitious.
He's passionate about trying to create this porta potty.
What movie did you see?
Transportation.
Well, that succeeded.
It's
say.
because of the stupid centipede thing.
The Brendel potty.
No, the transportation thing. To send him from one
Right,
pod
right.
to the next.
But no, I think Mad Doctor does not have to always be the crazy doctor with the crazy laugh who wants to
Right.
create a monster. I mean,
Right.
he can have the best intentions possible, and that can go horribly, horribly awry.
As we established,
Right.
that the Mad Doctor doesn't think that he's mad. He
That's
thinks he's
right.
doing good.
The accident in The Fly, I guess both the original and the remake, is what drove him to madness.
Yes.
Right.
He wasn't
He
necessarily
literally
mad to
becomes a
begin with.
monster.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
And speaking of Brundlefly, Cronenberg has done a lot of movies with very clinical thinking. Many of them were doctor protagonists.
One of my favorites.
Was Well, Dead Ringers is
Dead
what
Ringers,
I'm thinking about, which
and
is twin gynecologists.
definitely a Mad Doctor.
Those are Mad Doctors. Oh, yeah.
And the Brood. The Brood is my favorite.
The Brood is probably my favorite Cronenberg movie.
Oliver Reed as I forget the name, Plasmix, or it's this way of like he's a therapist kind of, and he gets his patients to kind of like get rid of their anger and their turmoil kind of physically. So like
he
it
can
manifests itself on their bodies.
Through his therapy, he can get someone's anger to manifest itself
like as
in
boils
our world.
or
And it originally we see early in the film we see the anger kind of present itself as boils and things like that, but then later it gets completely out of hand when the anger is manifesting itself in these little blonde troglodyte kids,
which Samantha Eggar gives birth to
out of a sack, like this external sack. And,
talk about twisted. That is
some
twisted,
shit.
disturbing movie.
He means
Yes.
she does feel a lot better. But
we'll do a podcast on evil children
or just
eventually,
Cronenberg in general. Yeah, no, that's a great film.
You know what was really cool was when Jeremy Irons won the Academy Award for what was that? It was the
one where he played the Scarsdale doctor.
Well, the point I was trying to make, what was really cool was when Jeremy Irons won the Academy Award, he went up and one of the people he thanked was actually David Cronenberg, who actually had nothing to do with the film that he had won the Academy Award for.
Right.
And I just thought, that was so cool.
I love that moment.
I was trying to remember, was it Reversal of Fortune?
That's it. Yeah.
Reversal of Fortune.
Reversal of Fortune.
Yeah, and he was
Klaus Bulow.
Klaus Bulow,
and
yes.
he was so great as that. But I thought it was really cool that he thanked David Cronenberg for Dead Ringers, though.
Yeah, but probably for pushing him as an actor, more than he ever been pushed in a movie.
Well, it just goes to show you that you want to really make a mark in this world. Maybe Mad Doctor is the way to go when it comes to
really.
Or Mad
either
Twin
think so.
Gynecologist.
Yeah.
It could be your ticket.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'd like to throw just a couple of others out there. A very great, over-the-top kind of fun Mad Doctor was John Lithgow as Dr. Emilio Lizardo in Buckaroo Banzai.
Oh, yeah.
Great,
Not a fan of that
role.
movie.
Oh, really? Oh, really? I like that movie.
Don't care for it.
Interesting.
And although he wasn't a Mad Doctor, Jeff Goldblum was also a doctor in that movie.
True.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
And so was Buckaroo Banzai for that.
Oh, he was a neurosurgeon, doctor, rock and roller, and inventor.
Waste of everyone's time.
No,
totally boring.
I think a lot of people
I like
dream
that
about being many things at once.
It's a
and
dumb,
experts.
boring movie.
No, I enjoyed
Wow.
that movie.
I like
that
Buckaroo
one.
Banzai.
I did too.
I want to
Get
throw
out.
this one.
All of you.
No, Sean, please continue.
The Flesh Eaters.
Oh, yeah.
Early 60s group of people crash land on an island, and there's this like ex-Nazi scientist experimenting with these like little parasites in the water that can just eat and dissolve flesh, played by the great Martin Koslak, who like played an evil German in practically every movie ever made.
Like there
really
are any
good.
other kind.
Yeah.
Well, you can't bring up Nazi Mad Doctors without Gregory Peck as Mengele in Boys from Brazil.
Oh, yeah. There you go. Totally.
He was great in that.
Or Peter Cushing as the doctor who takes care of the Nazi zombies in Shockwaves.
Oh, yeah. Shockwave. Great one.
Well, there's a lot. There are a lot of crazy Mad Doctor movies out there.
And Mark, you got any final ones you want to throw out there?
Gosh, you guys have covered so much territory. Nothing's really coming.
Any
to mind.
doctors that you know in your personal life that you'd like to?
Yes, but
Out?
they're still working on me, so I don't want to talk
ouch.
about them.
Okay.
That wouldn't be good.
Mark, is there something you've got going on? You want to let
Anything you
our
wanna plug?
listeners know?
Well, there's Succotash. Their comedy podcast, available at succotashshow.com. And if people want to find out about comedy podcasts without having to listen for an entire hour at a time, I play 10 to 12 different clips from comedy podcasts every show. So it gives them a chance to kind of, it's like a Whitman sampler of comedy podcasts.
Nice.
Awesome.
Very cool.
Yeah, it's the best bang for your podcast dollar.
I like to think so.
Actually, if I could make a little plug here.
Okay.
If you happen to live in the LA area,
Which I do.
yes, yes, you do. Thus, that's why you're here.
Yeah.
If you want to see one really, really great Halloween event, it would have to be RE-ANIMATOR the musical. It is so good. I just recently saw this, and it is amazing. It's funny. It has great music by Mark Nutter. All the actors are really, really funny. And this is a sort of an added plus here for the horror inclined.
Okay.
They have, as part of this show, they have a splash zone.
A splash?
Yes, they have a splash zone where if you are sitting in the first few rows, you will get splashed with fake blood and fake other fluids. I don't want to give too much away, but I did not sit
In the splash zone?
I did not sit in the splash zone.
I'm not sure I would want to sit in the
No,
splash zone.
no, I'm not.
And I'm surprised. I think you would want to sit in the splash zone.
No, I don't, unless it's real blood, I don't care. So, But you have to check this thing out. It goes till November 2nd. And if you want tickets, you go to trepany or trepany.org. And
How do you spell that? Trepany?
It's TREPANY house, as in the house that you live in, .org. Yeah, check this thing out because it is like the original RE-ANIMATOR, but with music, and it is co-written and directed by the Stuart Gordon.
Are you serious?
Yes, yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So it's great. Check it out. Monster Party commands you.
Well, and we'll also do a shout out to ourselves here at Monster Party. You can find us on YouTube at Monster Party TV and friend us on Facebook at Monster Party TV and follow us, please, on Twitter at Monster Party HQ. And a reminder that on iTunes, you can also send us comments and reviews.
Yes, because we'd really like to hear your comments. Not so much the reviews, but I want to know. I want to know.
Yeah.
Both.
I want you to know. I want to know what you guys think out there of Human Centipede, and if I really should
Yeah.
waste my
And
time.
Buckaroo Banzai, too.
Yeah. Okay. Well, this has been fun. And we have
Thanks for having me. It was great.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Mark.
so great to have you here. And if I could just throw in a final little personal story. I did stand up for many years, and Mark was one of the first people to actually book me. And he was doing booking for the Punchline in San Francisco, and he saw me. I did a showcase to see if I could get some work there. And the next day he called me, and he said, "Hey, Matt, I saw your set last night, and we've decided to book you anyway."
That's great, Mark. That's great.
That's like classic mad scientist line.
Mad with power. Mad with power. Well, on that note, I am Matt Weinhold.
I am Shawn Sheridan.
I'm Larry Stroth.
And I'm James Gonis.
Keep America strong.
Watch Mad Scientist or Mad Doctor movies.